Meaning the two person, sorry. That's what I was trying to say.
Everyone ready? I call this meeting Monday, June 5th, 2023 of the Lakota Board of Education to order. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Mr. Zink, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. D.
Yes.
Ms. Bodie.
Present.
Ms. Casper.
Here.
Ms. Schaefer.
Here.
Ms. O'Connor.
Here. Board will move to number 2. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. D. Please call the roll.
Discussion.
Mrs. Bodie?
I would like to add new business onto the agenda that is typically on the agenda, but is not on this one.
Go ahead.
Well, I would like to add a section where we discuss new business. It is typically on the past agendas, but is not on this one.
Do you have any business to add?
Yes, at a certain point, yes, I would like to add new business. That's why I'm asking.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And then is this the proper place to say that I would like to have certain things separated so I can vote on them separately, or should I do that underneath? Because I've done it both ways, so whichever way you prefer.
Go ahead.
Okay. So on, let's see, sorry. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for this. So under administrative, I'm sorry, hold on.
Administrative report?
No, sorry, go ahead. I printed out the long one. Okay, sorry, under treasurer's recommendations, please remove B and E.
Treasurer's
Treasurer's
recommendations have A and
recommendations
B.
have an A and a B.
Sorry, board action items. No, it's under superintendent recommendations.
You would like to have a separate vote on B, approval of the agenda, approval of the calendar, and E, approved donations?
Yes, and then also,
Probably easy to do that when we get there.
yeah, I think that's it.
Very well, we'll do that. We have a motion on the floor to add new business with no specifics on what the new business is. Julie, you had a comment?
I do. I would just like to clarify what that new business is, because again, the agenda goes out so our community can take a look and know what's happening in meetings. So I think it's appropriate. We don't typically have just a blanket new business on our agenda, so.
Well, typically you do, and typically the president says that's where you can discuss it, because I have emails where I've said that I would like to add a motion, and she adds it underneath the new business, and so just add it there. So it's kind of confusing on what the process is when the president keeps changing it.
It's there if something has been brought forward ahead of time, is my understanding.
Correct.
So can
That's
you
correct.
please share with us what your new business is intended
Yes,
to
I
be?
have two motions I would like to discuss.
Would you like to share what those are?
Yes, I have a motion on, I would like to make a motion that our board members make their position known on issue 1, which will be voted on in August. I believe this measure would help protect the integrity of the Constitution. And then motion 2 on 5/26, I requested an emergency policy meeting to address protecting biological girls from biological boys in the bathroom. This request has been ignored by the board, and on 5/30, I sent the board president an email requiring on who has responded, yet with another lack of response. I believe it is imperative that this is voted on prior to our children going back to school this fall. So I move to have an emergency meeting to address my motion made on 4/4/23 that was incorrectly amended to the policy committee by the board president.
What was the last comment?
It's a motion on the floor.
That I move to have an emergency policy meeting to address my motion
Just your final sentence, please.
made on 4/4/24 that was incorrectly amended to
Your
the
final
policy
sentence?
committee by the board president. That's you, Linda.
Thank you for the clarity.
That actually wasn't good.
It wasn't me.
It was an incorrect process.
So there is a motion on the floor to amend the agenda to add new business.
You already seconded it.
There is a motion, there is a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Zink, call the roll on the motion to amend the agenda, please.
Ms. Bodie?
Yes.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. D?
I'm not clear with the motion, so I don't want to vote.
It's to
I
add new,
abstain.
new business.
Abstain.
And is it also to take out the A and E?
You can only abstain when there's a personal conflict. You have to vote yes or no according to our
Mrs.
policy.
Bodie?
But you're not the president. You don't have the floor.
Well, she's not doing her job, so I'm doing it for her.
Mrs. Bodie, you're out of order with your personal comments. Mr. Adi, do you have further comments, or was there further clarity that you needed?
Yeah, I want to understand what was not done right then, because the motion was to discuss a paper on a policy, right? Another motion was raised that conversation should be sent to policy committee for discussion. And that was voted on and it went through. So when the last policy meeting was held, what happened? I wasn't there anyway. I know I'm going to hear
So
that.
the discussion we're having now is probably better under that discussion if we add this to the agenda.
Okay.
Would you,
Yeah,
the
yes.
motion now is to add it to the agenda?
Yes, add it to the agenda, because I want to know.
Ms. Schaefer?
No.
Ms. O'Connor?
No. All right, we will add new business. We will add that to, we'll make that number 10 under board action items.
Does this also take A and E separately, or whatever that's?
We don't generally require a motion for that, so we'll just let that stand as it is.
I would have been able to make this suggestion
Bodie?
sooner if it would have come out in a timely manner.
Where are we adding that to the agenda? I'm sorry.
We'll make that number 10, new business.
Got it. All right.
And at that point, Mr. Adi, that would be the appropriate time to discuss your questions about it.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. So we have a motion, an original motion on the floor to approve the agenda. We still need to vote on that, as amended. Would you please call the roll?
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Adi?
Yes.
Ms. Bodie?
No.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
It didn't come out in a timely manner. I said it before. I will not
Mrs.
approve it.
Bodie, you do not have the floor, but thank you. All right. Board, I am going to wait on board president's comments until our opening items later in our meeting. So we'll move straight into, I am seeking a motion to enter executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll take Mr. Adi and I believe Mrs. Casper. Is there discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Adi?
Yes.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. Bodie?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes. Thank you. We will recess and return following our community listening session. I'm going to pull us out of executive session, and we are going to recess for our community listening session. We will come back into regular session as soon as that's finished.
So we go in there now?
Yes. If you'd like a 5-minute break on the way, that's okay.
At some point I need a break. It doesn't, maybe not before the listening session, but definitely after the listening session. a half of one. This is my third bottle. I'm out of my mind. Must have eaten something that requires that. Okay. Banana bread.
Ready when you are.
I call this meeting of the Lakota Board of Education back into session. We met earlier in executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. I only have one question for the board this evening during board president's comments. Mrs. Bodie has requested an emergency policy meeting. Is it the board's desire to hold an emergency policy meeting prior to our regular meeting scheduled in August? If so, please make a motion.
I motion to hold an emergency policy meeting in the month of June.
Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion fails. That's it for my comments for now. Mr. Vogelman, superintendent comments? I'm sorry, you're right. Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. D, would you
Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. D. Mr. Vogelman, now you're up.
Yeah, the only opening comment I have is always try and follow up on previous listening sessions if there were questions that kind of come toward the direction of me, superintendent's office, or parts that's under my control. Question came up last time about audit that is on ODE's website dealing with venereal disease and sex education instruction. That audit is open now for next school year. It opened March 15th, August 1st. So there will not be anything for this current school year because the window is still open. But if you do go to that website, you will see the previous year's audit that is on there stating that we are compliant. And so I think there was a question about if we didn't have for this past school year in there, it's because the window is still open. So before August 1st, that will be submitted, and it's expected that we will once again be compliant. It looks like ODE posts that in October. So for the 22-23 school year, it'll likely be posted in October, and expect Lakota to be compliant with the rules laid out in Ohio Revised Code 331360 and 33136011.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
all I
Vogelman. Mr. Zink, treasurer's comments?
Yeah, we're continuing to watch the biennial budget House Bill 33, which is currently in the Senate Finance Committee, getting ready for the 11th hearing. And I have a presentation a little later on the Ohio checkbook. So that's all I have at this time.
Terrific, thank you. Board updates, Mr. Vogelman, board policy first reads.
Yes, appreciate the board's flexibility with me as I was out of town on May 5th and allowing me to zoom in to run the policy meeting on May 5th. On the May 5th date, there was a review of the Neola Update 41, number 2, that involved 30 policies, 15 of which were regular changes due to House Bill, Senate Bill, ORC changes back in the fall. And then also another block of 9 policies dealing with technology update, mostly surrounding AI language and the updates there. And then the final one was 6 policies with tobacco update, and which very similar, just new definitions, make sure they're capturing all the definitions of what was considered a tobacco product. So those were presented and discussed. There were a couple of questions that came with 2 policies that I followed up with 8420 and 7540.02, had those fixed based off of that, those follow-up questions that came out of there. Both those policies have been updated, but those policies are there for first read tonight.
Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Vogelman on policy?
Yes.
Mrs. Bodie, you're recognized.
Neola is another deceitful organization, and these recommendations are tainted, and they have demonstrated that they have an obvious political slant. So I will not be voting to approve these policies.
Any further comments or questions? Thank you. Move to number 7, board reports. Mr. Vogelman, Board Policy Committee. Our next meeting?
Should be in August, second Friday in August, I believe.
August 11th,
Thank you.
good morning, say.
Mrs. Casper, Community Engagement.
We have not had a good community engagement meeting since I believe our last meeting. We are talking about community conversations for next year and trying to get some dates on the calendar. In our next committee meeting, we hope to firm up some dates so that we can at least do the first half of the year so that it can be on everybody's calendar and topics, and coordinating with our facilitator schedule and the district schedule is always challenging. So we are working on that.
I have a question on that.
And we anticipate our next meeting being on the 10th of August.
August 10th.
Thursday, August 10th. Mrs. Bodie?
Can we have a conversation regarding SEL, DEI, and critical race theory?
We are looking at topics of conversation, so
I think that's a huge conversation that the community would like to have.
We'll bring it up in committee.
bring it up in committee.
Mrs. O'Connor, I
Yes.
have a question.
Go ahead.
I think there's some confusion when we receive emails as a board as to how those are addressed and how they are handled and responded to, as well as when we are asked to essentially vote via email or provide input. So perhaps can you elaborate on what the policy states on that and how that works?
You are welcome to keep going.
It states that the board chair is the person who responds on behalf of the board, and that has been our longstanding practice and policy. Because we have to be sensitive to sunshine laws, we have to be very careful that each of us don't individually respond, and then that information could be compiled from whoever receives it to look as a vote or a serial meeting or something of the like. So while I know most people in normal business practices would be able to answer that, and I know that was an adjustment for me when I joined the board, so much business anymore is done over email, we have to be very cautious in how we respond and what we say, and so that's why policy dictates that our board president does do those responses so that it doesn't become a discussion or a serial meeting outside of our regularly scheduled meeting.
Which could be construed as a sunshine law violation.
Can I ask a question on that? What does the rule say when your board president refuses to answer emails? What is the policy there, and how should you proceed?
I haven't experienced that, so I think that that would be something to address with the board president if emails were not responded to.
Anything further?
Let me put more highlight on that. From what Julie said, I know I love to explain things. Everybody is not versed in everything. So, in essence, if you send email that is directed to Isaac Adi, Isaac Adi can respond to that email. But if you are sending email to the entire board, some people are expecting that all the board members start to respond to those emails. That is a violation of sunshine law. I hope your explanation, is clear. We are not expected to all respond to your email because that is a meeting and it violates sunshine law. So I've heard people, talk to me personally. You guys don't respond to emails. The president is busy as well. Give her time. If she has not responded to your email, she will. Because beside what we do here, this is a voluntary work, we also have other businesses that we do to keep ourselves alive. So please be patient. If your email has not been responded by the president, she will. Thank you.
Madam President,
Mrs. Boding?
I believe that that is incorrect. I believe that if someone responds, or someone emails the board and you respond separately and not reply all, that is an individual conversation back and forth, and that should not be considered sunshine laws, or breaking a sunshine law.
Okay. Have a response.
Well, I think
Mr. Dean and Mrs. Casper.
So when we respond to that, that's a collection of board members' ideas, and that's a meeting. Because whoever is receiving it is collecting all those information, and that is a meeting, and that's a violation of sunshine law.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mrs. Casper?
And I think that the reason that we have been very careful and adopted that and tried to follow that is that we have been sued for that very thing, for unintentionally talking about something and then having it be a lawsuit. And we have put in strict guidelines from our attorneys for that reason, because as we know, there are, people that want to sue us every chance they get, so they're looking for something, and so it's really hard to not follow the rules. I mean, it's really hard to we have to follow the rules is what I'm trying to say, because it's detrimental to the district.
Anything further under Community Engagement Committee? Mrs. Schaefer, Butler Technology and Career Development Schools.
I have a newsletter handout. I am always amazed with Butler Tech and their newsletter. We had the Butler Tech graduation on our marathon week of graduations. On Monday night, then the Butler Tech board meeting was Tuesday night, and they already put together this flyer with some great pictures from graduation by the next day. So that was, I'm always amazed with what they're able to turn around so quickly. At our last board meeting, they had students come in and from the bioscience building talking about a showcase project they did. They were working with Alzheimer's patients, and they had them come in once a week to work with the students. And two students came in and spoke about their buddy, whose name was Bud. He was 76 years old. He was a war baby, he told them. And he had songs that he loved to sing that they sang each time he came in each week. And the kids just talked about what a great connection it was, that they bridged the generations, that he was from West Virginia and had a different background, but they each hope to go into healthcare. And they said it really helped them when they think about who they're going to be working with in healthcare. It often is senior citizens, and they really felt like they were able to connect at a deeper level. And there was gratitude on both sides, both with Bud as well as with the students, and they really appreciated that. And they said those empathy skills that they learned by making those connections, really they felt would serve them well in their longstanding career. So it was great to see. They had a bunch of pictures with Bud and his wife, and they look forward to continuing on that relationship. Advanced manufacturing and aviation project is still going well. They're working on a sub-grant of the $15 million of the $24 million that will be required for that. So they are feeling good about getting full funding. In the budget, again, they're watching carefully what funds are going to be put forward for expansion and buildings. They're hoping to expand the bioscience building. Again, right now, it's 35,000 square feet. The expansion would be 50,000 square feet. It would allow us to work with Cincinnati State and have, between the Butler Tech experience and the Cincinnati experience, students, the hope is, will be able to get a full Bachelor's of Science, BSN, on site. And they will also work with adult ed on the site. So we're hoping within the 3 campuses and the expansion to increase capacity by over 1,000 students. And again, the ultimate goal continues to be with the expansion to hopefully remove the waiting list and backup of students who would like to access those services and have been unable to. Jay Patel, Butler Tech student and Lakota East student, received one of 60 presidential scholars in the country. There were 3 in the state of Ohio, and this was the first that Butler Tech has ever received, so they were very excited about that. We went over the 5-year forecast. Revenue was 2.1% higher than estimates, and expenses were 1.4 less, so they were excited about that. And again, talked about some of the same things we've talked about as far as the revaluation and the impact that's going to have within Butler Tech, and then the potential impact of House Bill 1 as well. So, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. Finance Committee, Mrs. Schaefer, Mrs. Bodie.
So in the Finance Committee, we were given insight into pay rates and salary of Lakota, and I will continue to research and evaluate the information that we were given.
Adam, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I know.
Next meeting is on June 28th. That will be a pretty big meeting just because that is the day before our giant board meeting full of financial things for fiscal year end at the end of this month. So we will have a lot to talk about then, covering budgets and revenue for next year and all that.
So, and Adam's been very focused on a lot of what we did talk about was the rates and pay and making sure that he has everything approved, working towards that clean audit that we strive to get every year. And so we appreciate his diligence and always making sure he's dotting every I and crossing every T. So thank you for all your work and making sure all of that was compliant.
That is a year-long process, and the award at the end is just the byproduct.
Exactly.
Thank you. Legislative Committee, Mr. Vogelman, Mr. Zink, Mrs. Casper.
I don't know anything other than watching the budget. Ever-changing budget.
Yeah, I briefly talked about House Bill 33 at the very beginning, so we should know more about that here in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, I think one of the things I saw is that expect the Senate to vote on the 15th and kind of get that ball rolling, because I think it has to be done by July 1st, because that's when it's supposed to be in place. So kind of see how that moves and shakes going forward. A couple other House bills and Senate bills that are just kind of bouncing back and forth, getting ideas. So we'll see where those go as well.
Any other bills you're keeping your eye on?
A couple that I think would impact us is House Bill 6, that's school athletics. That deals with the Save Women's Sports Act. That also, I think, kind of goes in tandem with the new one that was released last week, House Bill 183, which they're titling the bathroom facilities for Ohio schools. So we'll see what they do with that. House Bill 11, the scholarship backpack program. House Bill 12, education and workforce, that's renaming the State Department of Education. Also looking at House Bill 117, which is third grade reading guarantee. There's been debates about eliminating that retention piece. And there's been testimony back and forth about that. So I'd be interested to see where that one goes, knowing that when it first came in, the standard continues to raise for each year. And so they're getting to that point where more and more kids are under that retention rule because the standards have raised. So they're starting to debate that a little further. And then the other Senate bills that we're looking at tie into the House bills with Department of Ed and backpack bill stuff. So we'll see what happens over these next couple of weeks with those.
Another financial, okay, give one more. Another financial one that we're keeping an eye on is House Bill 57 by Thomas Hall.
I was going there.
Yep, the homestead exemption, inflation index, it would hook the homestead exemption to an inflationary index. We'll keep an eye on that because that could potentially shift a bit of our revenue. We'll look at the implications on that. Could shift it from our local share down to the state reimbursement. So we'll keep an eye on that just to know what the impact of that could be on our forecast.
There's also another piece our local legislators, specifically Lang and Hall, I believe, we're working on to deal with the state tax commissioners, 42% increase in property valuation. And I believe they attached it to the budget bill. And their goal is to drop that to a 25% increase, and they're continuing to look at options for how they can assist our community. So is that is attached to the budget bill?
I believe it is at the Senate's version.
Part of the discussion that we had about that was that 42 to 25 and then 25, or like whatever the difference is the following year. Are they now talking about just taking it down to 25?
That's their hope.
Okay.
We'll know more, I guess, in a couple of weeks.
We 5-year forecasted 22 just to be safe.
Right.
All right, anything else on legislative? Diversity Committee, Rob, I don't think that you were there for that. You were out of town. Mr. Zink and board members were there. Would any board members like to comment?
Yes.
Mrs. Bodie?
There continues to be a lack of transparency in this department, and I motion to dissolve the Diversity and Inclusion Department, and their funds associated with it should return to their source.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Hearing none, it fails. Did you have anything further? Board, other comments on the Diversity Committee?
Go ahead. I don't even know where to start. It was unprofessional. It was disturbing, and I felt like it was not productive. Felt like we didn't get an opportunity. What we asked for as a board was results of what the Diversity Committee has done, and we were trying to get those results, and people were interrupted, and it was not a pleasant meeting, and I don't want to have our staff ever have to go through anything like that again. There's a way to ask a question without attacking, and I felt like there was a lot of attacking going on. That's just my take on it.
Mrs. Schaefer?
The question that had been brought forward from the prior meeting was to share the work that was being done by the committee, and in an effort of our staff to do that, they were told to hurry along and not do that, and then at one point, when a staff member commented that they were a staff member, it was stated, unfortunately, which again, as a board, it's disappointing to me when we have individual board members making disparaging comments about our staff, and that it's unfortunate that they're employees. The board has put this initiative together, working with our administration. This has been a long-standing initiative of the district to support all students and give every child the tools they need to succeed. I don't understand why that's become a hot button. I don't understand why that's become political. We are simply trying to remove barriers for children. And as Leah went through her listing of all of the things that were being done, it was astonishing to me truly how much is being accomplished by that small but mighty department, and making sure we reach every single student, from Gold Star families to our students with special needs to our English language learners. I mean, it's looking across the gamut to remove barriers to education. And when I look at our mission statement, which is to be our North Star, everything we do is designed to provide a future-ready, student-centered learning experience for every single child. And I honestly can't think of another department that does more to make sure that that full mission is achieved, of making sure we're removing barriers so every child can be educated and have a successful future. So I appreciate their work. I agree. I don't think it's appropriate to have another meeting that devolves like that one did into personal attacks against individual staff members when they're doing their job that they've been tasked to do by both the board and administration.
Mr. Dean, anything?
Yeah, I would say that that meeting was, for me, from the productive side of it, it was an eye-opener, and it's something that I wanted a long time ago, because I remember it was December 5th, 2022, that I made a request, because I think the community need to know more about that department. I personally had a problem with that department initially when I came on the board, and I had personal meetings with the people running the department. So that was why I made a request that our next meeting, we need to have elaborate and more detailed function of that department. And in that meeting, there are a lot of things that I never even knew was going on behind the scene. That we got reports, productive report in that department. And the community need to know more about how they function. And that was, to me, a successful meeting. But personal attack was what I did not like, because our staff should be able to do their job freely, and if there are concerns, I know we're going to disagree on maybe the way things are run, but we should do it professionally and ask productive questions instead of personal attacks. That area, I disagree with it and I condemn it. However, diversity and inclusion, whether we like it or not, this country is made up of, how many countries do we have in this school district?
I think it's 54 languages.
54 languages. And people are coming in legally. I don't like illegal immigration. People are coming in legally. We have a community that is going, whether we like it or not, is going to continue to be more diverse. So if we want our school district to be successful, we have to have a department that will help when people come in to assimilate. I came in when I was 39 years old. I know what I went through, if not because I have people that help me, guide my kids, get them into the school system, get them into all the things that they need to do. I probably would have run back to where I came from. But where I came from wasn't good. So I came because I needed opportunity. So let's make opportunity available for everybody that comes in legally. And I think that is how that department needs to run. And I think we have plans to have that continue, which I think maybe before the end of the meeting or next meeting, it might be possible. So that's all I have to say about that meeting.
Mr. Zink, anything?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Madam President,
Mrs. Bodie?
I think it's unfortunate that when people are asked tough questions that they're afraid to answer, that they accuse the question asker of personally attacking them. And I would think that when asking what is critical race theory, what do conversations around race look like? Can you prove that this diversity, equity, or die is beneficial to our grade, to the students' grades? And why does someone support what seems like can be interpreted as a racist organization who is dishonest and spends millions of dollars on homes for themselves versus giving back to the community that they claim they do, and cannot provide an agenda on a book study? I think those are quite valid conversations, and when those can't be answered, there's an issue there. And so, again, I support, or I stand behind the fact that this organization, this is not transparent, it's divisive and hateful for our students. And so that's why I think it has
Mrs.
no use.
Casper? Mr. Dean, then I'm going to say something.
I
Mrs.
would just
Casper?
say, unfortunately, the way that you just stated those questions was not the way that you attacked our employees that day. You should go back and watch the video. If you had calmly asked questions and given them a chance to answer, all while I disagree with the questions, it's one thing, but you continue to push and attack and make horrid comments about our staff under your breath. That is not okay.
Mr. D.
Yeah, so that's just what I wanted to add to it. There's a professional way of doing things. There's a right way of doing the right thing, a wrong way of doing the right thing. If you are trained, you know, I mean, it was a personal attack. Just go and watch the video. And when they're still making their presentation, you are asking them to stop. We asked for those reports. You ask them to stop. You have questions to ask. There are many professional ways of doing good things. So that's one thing you need to check yourself. Professionalism is what we needed on the board. We can disagree. I disagree on many things, but there's a better way of presenting it.
I agree with my fellow board members' comments about the atmosphere that it disintegrated into. It was very disappointing. And if we're going to talk about our differences, those conversations first have to start with civility and respect. And I believe that's the commitment of most of the board. It was not exhibited that day, and it was very disappointing. And those conversations are really important. We'll be talking about this in a few minutes when we get to number 9 on the agenda, so I won't go into that yet. But I will say, when I look at the work of our staff, we have Mrs. Aguilar, who's out there working with different sectors of our community across the district, and doing incredible things from our military families to our special needs families to taking some of our English as a second language learner kids to do a college visit, kids who'd never thought about ever going to college. And they wanted to go back and apply. Those are the kind of things Mrs. Aguilar is doing, and Mrs. Moore is working on providing instructional coaching within the classroom to our teachers who are struggling to understand barriers some of their individual students might have. That might be a little harder to measure. You can't put a number to that, but it's making a difference in the classroom. So I believe, as you've all said, that looking at diversity and its impact on our students does matter. And it has to be respectful in civil conversations. And that, I will say that for the last few diversity meetings, it has not been a positive, but that certainly went over the line. Let's move on from that. We have more work to do tonight. Mr. Vogelman, G, Safety Committee.
I was not at that meeting,
I'm
but
sorry
we
you
did
were out of
have,
town for that,
we did
too.
have one since then in which we met here and went over Alice training for the board on our new location here at East Freshman. So appreciate representatives from Westchester Police and Butler County Sheriff's Office walking us through that hour of training.
I found it very helpful. I thought it was good to have that perspective from them and some honest feedback and suggestions. Any other comments, board, on the safety training?
Can I just a broader on grants? I know there's been questions on grants, and it's my understanding we've applied for all grants that we're able to from a
Yes,
safety perspective.
yes, and we've received several of those grants. I don't want to say a number because I'm not sure of the exact number, but there's been several rounds, and each round we've applied, we have received I think the most that we can get per each round. So, and there's plans to use that to upgrade the security at our buildings through entrances, through the protective sheeting on windows, through security cameras, badge swipes, things of that nature.
Can you provide an update on that at our next meeting? On the
Yeah, and I'll
amount?
provide an update on the full amounts that we've received.
That'd be great. Anything else?
Yeah, I would like to thank the officers that were here and the closely thought out measures that they try to ensure our safety. However, I would like to point out that it's typically the liberals that are the
Mrs. Bodie, please stop the
excuse
personal
me?
attacks.
I would
Please
like to
stop.
speak, please. We can all
Mrs.
agree that the
Bodie,
liberals are the most
please stop.
violent, and so I think it would be
Mrs. Bodie.
important to note that you
Let's
for
move
vote
on to the
liberally.
Business Advisory
So help
Committee.
me explain your
H.
fear as to why you
Mr.
feel that
Vogelman?
you should be afraid.
Mr. Vogelman, would you
Of your
please move to the
safety.
Business
Thank you.
Advisory Committee?
Business Advisory, we had our first meeting on Friday, May 19th at 1 o'clock at Lakota Central Office. The team consisted of 5 Lakota members, 8 community members, and 1 unfortunately was absent. But during that time, went over the beginning stages of revising our strategic plan, getting feedback from those community members, many of which had vested interest in the schools with having kids here, or also serving the community either through business or through organizations that help Lakota students and families. And so we had some good conversation along with the chamber representative that was there, and looking at sending out communication to chamber businesses for feedback on what are those skills that we should be looking for instilling into our students as portrait of a graduate ideas of communication, of promptness, things of those natures that they're seeing in the workforce that's needed right now, so we can look to try and embed those soft skills into what we do in our schools with those students through opportunities, either through those advisory times that we have, or through those special times where we bring in speakers to talk with kids. So get started on that with Mr. Hinson at the chamber, get those feedback from, I think he said they have about 6,000 contacts through the chamber, try and get some of that feedback, see what are those skills that they believe we should be out there. That's kind of that first step, but it was a great first meeting. Next meeting is scheduled for August 25th, and then the next one would be December 1st after that. Try and do it quarterly, kind of same rotation as the current business, not business, but current board committees structure of once a quarter.
Do we have a date on when that survey is?
No, I will have to follow up and see where we're at in that process.
If you'd let the board know, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Community Curriculum Advisory Team meets again.
Meets again on June 19th at 6 o'clock. I recently sent out a public notice on that. First meeting I felt like went very well. I sat in to do the minutes. I appreciate them letting me sit in and help out. It was very enlightening for me because I don't work in curriculum a lot, so it was good for me to see more of that. And the meeting actually went for about an hour and 45 minutes, although we had it scheduled for like an hour, I think. So it went very well.
Great, thank you. Has there been any board professional development that anyone would like to comment on?
I don't think we've had anything.
I will be attending the Federal Legislative Advocacy Group Conference in September. I think it's late September, on behalf of COSBA. And I'll bring back information from that on who I'll be visiting while we're there. Mr. Zink will move to administrative report, the Ohio checkbook.
Make sure I've got everything working. Okay, so one of the goals that we'd put together for me for the beginning of this year was in relation to vetting out, looking at, and recommending potentially a portal that people in the community could go out and do a little bit of research, self-serve perhaps. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and kind of how the interface of that would look and what that could be. We went with the Ohio checkbook just based around we don't currently have one of these officially, and this is free because it is sponsored through the Treasurer of State. So that would be a very fiscally responsible cost, in my opinion, based around, just based around we don't currently have one, and until we get more feedback and we would see kind of what direction we would want to go in, I would hate to make a huge investment, a huge undertaking, because one of the other ones that we looked at, which was OpenGov, which interestingly enough, the Ohio checkbook is actually built on the OpenGov platform, but the actual OpenGov outside of the checkbook hasn't been developed for schools in Ohio just yet. So this was one that they'd set up, I think it was 9 years ago. So we'll look through that.
Is your thought on implementing that at the end of this fiscal year, or at the start of the new fiscal year?
The way we would, we'll get through all that. The way this would work is just kind of show everybody what this looks like, see if it would be something that the board would be interested in, and if so, then we'll have a resolution at an upcoming meeting to get a better timeline on the implementation.
Okay.
So what this does is it stores data for the state of Ohio. This includes local governments and as well as schools and the pension fund. So it's easy to compare data over our fiscal years. It's kind of a universal with you can click. It'll have the bar graphs as seen above. It'll have lines you can click on, and then it'll pop data up that people can look at. So there are multiple ways that individuals could say, I would prefer to see it certain ways. So you can drill down pretty easily. This is the filters that people can use that will set to different funds, departments, objects, or the people that was paid, the vendors per se. This is not going to reflect based around how our accounting software works. It isn't going to reflect individual paychecks or anything like that. It's going to be based around our accounts payable checks. So it's more of the warrants. So here's another example of what it would look like if you clicked within one of the charts, and then it would drop down a little bit more detail. Something to keep in mind, the detail is not exactly all-encompassing, I would say would be the best way of saying that. It's going to show the date, the check, the amount, who it went to, but it can then lead to, it's kind of viewed at times as it can lead to additional public records, which based on the year we've had this year, I'm really kind of hopeful that if we did go a direction like this, maybe we could prevent a few public records. I know usually a lot of times people are really concerned that it could have a big increase in the records, but you know, we've had a heavy year for that this year. So hopefully that maybe can help us be a little more efficient in the office as well. This is just another viewpoint of that with the details for the line items. I redacted the school that we pulled up. It was a similar size, just district that is in the state. So you can download the visuals. You can get different viewpoints. I mean, but it's not going to show an actual check packet. It's not, you know, a public record request would still have to come through, which can be done through this portal to get more of that information or more of that backup. It's just going to give a very basic look, let's say. Like, for example, legal bills. It's not going to say anything. It's just going to say the vendor. It would say which vendor this was, but it's not going to say, you know, more specifically what it was for, any of that kind of stuff. So, limitations, these are manually uploaded. So it would take somebody from our team to actually take the data. We have kind of talked about this in Finance Committee as well as the Community Engagement Committee on the timing, because one of the things, if we went a direction like this, that would be very, very important is consistently maintaining it. You know, you don't want to have a tool and then we're not keeping it up. So that's something that we would have to accept the responsibility of as well. As mentioned, the context for the documentation, it'll give you a look, but it's not going to give you a whole story. It's not going to give you what exactly a reimbursement went for. It's not going to give that check packet detail that we have to have in order to process payments. It also does not include revenue. So this is checkbook, so they don't view, I guess, the checkbook when they implemented this as also the revenue. This is only going to be the expenditure side on the accounts payable side, not payroll. So, and then as mentioned, the underlying information, you're not going to be able to extract that. That would come through public record requests. So that is a pretty broad overview. Anybody have questions?
I would like to just comment. We've been talking about this,
Since longer than I've been at Lakota.
I think 7 or 8 years now, and I really believe strongly in the transparency and accountability part of this, that our community can see exactly what we're spending our money on. And I recognize it does require a time commitment from our staff and want to be cognizant of that, but I do support going to some kind of system like this. What do our other local governments do?
There's a variety of different methodologies of the uploading. Some of them will do it monthly. None do it
So who's doing it
quicker.
that you know of?
I think Northwest, I want to say Sycamore, this one's Hilliard. So several of the districts in the area. I think the High Checkbook said that there was around 30% of the schools in the state using this platform. The other one that we did view that would have took more, it was going to be around 21,000. so for 1 year. And that would take an implementation.
Did you see a benefit to that?
The implementation, whenever you hear implementation, you need to think a lot more effort. So there is an implementation with this, but this one's already been kind of streamlined. And actually, we do have a bit of a benefit with Darian Oskley, our assistant treasurer. He was actually at Xenia when they did the first school in the state, and he helped to develop the chart of accounts. So that is helpful for him more intimately knowing this than most people would as well.
Comments and questions for Adam on this?
Yeah, I'm concerned that it doesn't show revenue. I think that's kind of concerning. And I know that other government entities have also been concerned about that, so they went to the other one, what is it called, Ohio Gov?
OpenGov.
OpenGov, sorry. And they chose to go with that one. And I am kind of leaning towards that because I feel like it might be a little bit more worth, it might be a little bit more effort to implement it, but it might be worth the effort for our community to have more transparency and be able to see everything that they are looking for in the OpenGov versus the Ohio checkbook.
Kelly?
We have been talking about this a long time. I am not in favor of spending $21,000 and a whole lot more time when we have a lot of other resources for the community to be transparent with our financial picture. There's 12 or 14 links on the finance page of our website of places that you can look. So I'm not in favor of paying $21,000. And if I remember correctly, there isn't a school district in Ohio that uses OpenGov. Is that correct?
No, that is correct.
Because it's not made for schools. My concern would be manpower. So I would opt to update it quarterly if it, because of it's going to be manpower for you. And my question is can things be extracted and manipulated from Open Checkbook?
No, it's a very static. We upload the information. People can manipulate it to see different things, but as far as manipulate it to like change amounts or
Right.
change vendors or,
Okay.
I mean, I guess with the exception of snippet and photoshopping or something like, I mean, that's stuff we wouldn't be able to control anyway.
Right.
But we would control the data source. So, if somebody had questions like that out there, they could still do a record request or come to us with any of that. We could answer the questions.
Thank you.
Julie?
I guess I have a couple questions. I know right now with the annual comprehensive financial report that was the report formerly known as the CAFR, I think that's 140 pages-ish of financial information. And I know when you put the 5-year forecast out, there's 20-ish pages of notes that go along with this. So my concern, or my question is, do you have concerns that because this is just pure data without any explanation, if you're producing a financial report that requires 140 pages of explanation and another one that requires 20 pages of explanation, is there the potential that this is going to lead to more confusion rather than clearing up confusion?
Potentially, yes. I think that's always a concern and always a very big concern. We can also keep an eye on the data points that we're receiving if we did go this direction to see maybe we can do a better job. Maybe we can do a better job to reduce some of those questions within the descriptions of some of the expenditures. But with the year we've had, there's also been several public record requests that I believe something like this possibly could have prevented us from having to field those questions. So,
Can you tell if certain questions people are asking to see if there's a trend so you could proactively respond to something like that and put that information on the website, or you'll never know how people queried on this and won't get any
Do you mean
feedback?
what questions people have, what people are seeking?
Yeah, will
I
you
believe
know
we
what
can
people
get a
are
report
querying?
within that, but I will have to verify that to be certain. I
Yeah.
think that is the case, though.
Okay. And to be able to provide, but you probably won't know who, or to be able to provide answers or context to
Correct.
any
They
of those
would
questions.
have to send us inquiry for that information if they wanted more than what they could find on their own.
So is it your recommendation that we move forward with this or that
That's
we do
fine.
not?
Any other questions, Rochelle?
You're going to have more of that question because that was my question, because I want to know what benefit do you think that is for you? Because we're also talking about a cost, 21,000 a year.
That would be if we went with the OpenGov. The Ohio checkbook is built on the OpenGov platform, but it's not the standalone. We would not be
Okay.
contracting with that one. So this one would be free. One of the things that I would probably recommend is if we do go this direction, in my most straddle the fence way possible, I would say that we would come back to this and review it yearly and see if we are getting positive results. We do have finance committee. We do have many, many, many different public conversations about the finances and things that I would hope to gather feedback at those to make sure that that is a good investment of the staff and the treasurer's office's time.
Right, because even if there's not a direct cost, there's indirect costs in the man hours that it's required to
Manpower.
upload
Correct,
this information.
correct.
Manpower.
Madam
Mr.
President,
David, do you have
Is
any
there-
comments? Kelly, and then Darby?
Totally lost my train of thought. Oh, I feel like there might be an uptick at the very beginning in public records requests because of the fact that there's not a lot of detail. So you're going to see a check on an open checkbook made out to Adams Inc. for $500. And so that's all you're going to see, correct?
That is correct.
So then someone's going to,
It may say
It'll be big
mileage, like that's the description. It's just, it's very much like if you look at any of the checks, if anyone in the audience has received a check from Lakota, the way that check looks is the example that you're going to be able to see. So it would have the fund and the, some of the account information, but it's not going to have what we used in order to process that
Right.
payment. It's not going to have that backup that we always have to have, or we wouldn't send a check.
right.
Mrs. Bodie?
I said this in the Finance Committee, and again, I value your opinion, and I like that you're, asking his input. However, we represent the community, and I think we need to do what they are asking, and right now, at this point, they're asking for more transparency. And so I think we need to find the best option to show transparency, and that is either one of these two, what would you call them, sorry? One of these two.
Just call them transparency portals. Just,
Portals, yes, portals.
It's just a way that people can self-serve
Yes.
information.
Right, yeah. So I think, again, I just want to remind the board members that we represent the community, and a majority of them would like transparency from this community in one way or another, and I think this is the one way that we can deliver it to them.
Can I ask Mrs. Bodie a question? Mrs. Bodie, can you help me explain how you know the majority of the community wants transparency when I personally feel like there is a lot of financial, you often refer to the majority of the community has your ear. Can you explain to me what you
Yeah,
consider the
absolutely.
majority of the community?
Well, and I don't know if you're actually there at the listening sessions, but many people speak about this and about transparency. In fact, I think they spoke about it today. So if you would listen to the community when they speak at the mic, that's what they
I'm
say.
asking you how you always know that the majority of there were 15 people out there, and there's 100,000 people in our community, so I'm not sure that the math works out between 15.
I'm going
So
to
I'm
ask
just
You
us
might need to go
get
back
on
to
our
school
agenda.
again and do your
Thank
math
you.
because it works out quite fine.
That's sufficient, thank you.
One of the questions Ms. Casper did ask that I don't believe I answered was, yes, based on the peer reviews that I've heard, it does seem that an uptick in records is anticipated at the earlier stages of this implementation. And then they believe it does go down. Now, if we don't find that to be the case in Lakota, and it becomes very, very,
labor intensive.
then we will report back so that everybody can stay in the loop on what it's doing. I'm hopeful that that wouldn't be the case. And, this isn't a tool that the people that use it are unfamiliar with, let's put it that way.
Right.
It is something that does have an advantage of at least being consistent with what people have seen if they've used it before.
Anything else? It sounds like we will move forward with this, Mr. Zink.
then we will work toward getting the information together and bring that forth at an upcoming meeting. And then we'd have better feel for timeline and whatnot.
Okay,
Great.
great. Thank you for that. We'll move to number 9 on the agenda, board action items. A, resolution to create the Lakota Community Council Committee as a standing committee of the board. Is there a motion to accept the resolution?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Adi. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Before we start discussion, we will present some information first for everyone. So I very much regret that Mr. Card is not here to present this tonight. I know he'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone has at any point. So the plan, you have a resolution in front of you. I'll read the resolution so that those who are not sitting in the meeting will understand what we're talking about. It is a resolution to create the Lakota Community Diversity Council Committee as a standing committee of the board. Whereas under Board Policy 0155, the Board of Education may take action to create a standing committee of the Board of Education, and whereas the Board of Education desires to create a Community Diversity Council Committee as a standing committee of the Board of Education, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby creates the Community Diversity Council Committee as a standing committee of the Board of Education that shall serve in an advisory role to the board. Be it further resolved that the Community Diversity Council Committee shall have 2 board members, which shall be determined by a board vote. Be it further resolved that the Community Diversity Council Committee shall meet at such times and places as determined by the Community Diversity Council Committee. The Community Diversity Council shall comply with all requirements of the Ohio Revised Code 121.22. Be it further resolved that the Board Diversity Committee shall cease. And then it would be signed by the following members of the Board of Education, signed on this date. So the mission statement, which is attached to your resolution for this council, is as follows. The purpose of the Lakota Community Diversity Council is to establish a supportive and welcoming environment for students and staff of all backgrounds. We will work to make sure that all students have the same opportunities for success. We will work to break down barriers to student learning for all students. As I said, Mr. Card was not able to be here tonight. However, so I don't want to speak for him except to use, I'll share with the board the letter that he's created to go out to individuals on the council to give you some idea of what the concept is behind it. Dear potential council member name, it's my honor to invite you to serve on Lakota's inaugural community council, a group dedicated to providing every single one of our 17,500 Lakota students with equal opportunities for success. The council's goal is best described by the mission statement. The purpose of the community council is to establish a supportive and welcoming school environment for Lakota students and staff of all backgrounds. We will work to make sure all students have the same opportunities for success, and we will work to break down barriers to student learning for all students. Your participation in this special group will help us achieve a council that is representative of the multitude of cultures, backgrounds, perspectives, learning styles, family dynamics, and more that make up our school community. Lakota takes great pride in building strength through our differences, and we're hopeful that your unique perspective will help to inform our priorities for making Lakota schools a source of support to anyone who walks through our doors. In consultation with others, including Lakota's Board of Education President, Mrs. O'Connor, the vision for this group began taking shape when I started in my role as Senior Director of Lakota's Outreach, Diversity, and Inclusion Department. Before I leave the place that I've called home for 13 years to pursue my next challenge as Superintendent of Princeton City Schools, it is my goal to make this vision a reality and set this group up for success. By introducing community voices into this group, I believe this is a powerful evolution in our work. Additionally, this council will replace the board's diversity committee. The group will meet on a quarterly basis. We request that you commit to at least a full year of service. Lakota leadership will be represented, but meetings will be facilitated by, and there's a blank that is still being determined who the final facilitator will be, and then they're asked to return an attached agreement by a specific date. Thank you again for considering this unique opportunity to help shape this important work for our district. I look forward to hearing from you. Please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions. Sincerely, Elgin Card. So again, as I said, the plan is for the group to meet 4 times throughout the school year. Meetings would be run by a neutral facilitator. Agendas would be designed by the facilitator, the 2 board representatives, the staff members currently involved in diversity work, and possibly others as needed. Areas that were considered for representation on the council include various faith groups, including the Sikh, Islamic, Christian, and Jewish faiths, other community sectors, Hispanic, African American, LGBTQ, special needs, gifted, senior citizens, elementary and secondary parents, military, business, socioeconomic levels, ESL students, recent graduates, law enforcement, and diversity in the political spectrum on the committee as well. Part of the thinking is to hear from people that might not be involved in other ways in order to bring some new faces to the table, as well as some that have been previously involved or are currently involved in the district. The expectation is that all those who serve must be willing to listen and to consider all sides, must be able to discuss collaboratively and respectfully what's best for students. The why. We heard that tonight in the listening session from people, so I'd like to talk about that for a moment. For me, Mr. Card and I began discussions 2 years ago after Mr. Card did a presentation at a board meeting in January of 2021. We've had a lot of conversations since then, and again, I'm sorry that he's not here to speak. We don't necessarily share the same political views or life experiences, but our discussions have been respectful and they've been focused on what's best for students, and more importantly, bringing back the discussion to ways to create opportunities and removing barriers for students. We believe this is a way to reshape the way that we look at differences in our community in a respectful and collaborative way. The word diversity, in my opinion, has become a flashpoint for many, and it's moved far away from what I believe is the original meaning, and it's been distorted. In the politically charged and divisive arguments that the word seems to generate, what gets easily lost is why the recognition of diversity matters in a school setting. Why do we have to discuss it? Why do we have to recognize it? Why do we put any resources or staff time toward it? Those are valid questions to ask. I believe it matters because academic learning and student achievement matter. Ultimately, learning is social. It arises from how we collectively make sense of a world comprised of very different people from ourselves. Academic learning and student achievement therefore depend on the recognition and the understanding of diverse student experiences, needs, and barriers to learning. We say that again. It's the recognition of diverse student experiences, needs, and barriers to learning. It enables us as an educational entity to ensure that all of our students are provided with equal opportunities to be successful. And in my mind, that's the critical issue that sometimes takes a distant back seat in these conversations, when I really believe it should be the only question that matters. Student learning is our core competency, and it's the work that we must be focused on. Diversity, when we think about that within our school community and our broader community, is multifaceted. It encompasses race, ethnicity, religion, culture, socioeconomic levels, political beliefs, special needs, so much more. Frankly, in my opinion, all of that has been lost in the board's recent conversations. I believe very strongly there have to be more voices at the table. This is a community issue. It needs a community solution. We are investing taxpayer dollars to focus on issues that impact student achievement. That doesn't seem like a political issue to me, and our community deserves an opportunity to have more voices at the table and more transparency in the process. I ask for my fellow board members for their support to put the focus back where it needs to be, and that's on creating opportunities for students to learn and to be successful. Other questions?
Yes.
Mrs. Bodie?
Question number 1. Why are we removing the diversity committee if we are not removing the program?
Great question. The proposal is for the council to replace the board diversity committee because frankly, we have to cut through the political divisiveness that's been a part of those board committee meetings. They're not effective conversations. The staff was not treated with respect, and I don't believe the staff will attend those again. And yet we still need to have those conversations because again, academic achievement and student learning matters. And if there are barriers to that, we need to understand what those are.
This seems to me that you're completely going covert and hiding this diversity, equity, and inclusion with this change. Also, I would also like to say that this program has proven to lower our students' academic achievement, and it's also concerning that when you say break down barriers, what that really means is that those who have the freedom of religion to express love by speaking truth are attacked, called names, and ostracized, and their voice at the table is shut down.
Was that a question, Mrs. Bodie?
No, that was a statement. Thank you.
Is there anything else? I do want to respond back to the comment about it being covert. I don't believe that by bringing representation from the entire community to the table, there's anything covert about that. If anything, it opens the doors to much greater transparency. Are there other questions?
I guess for me, it would have been helpful, you said, that this has been being worked on since January of 2021. So,
Let me clarify that, discussions, conversation back and forth.
so again, I wish that we had all been able to be a little bit more in the loop than if this is something that a board member's been working on with a staff member for over 2 years. I would have found it helpful, like some of the things you just read, it's a lot to process right now to bring us up to speed with this on the agenda. And one of the things you mentioned is that those who are joining are being asked to sign an agreement. Do we have an agreement?
That's being worked on still.
So we don't have that agreement or know what that looks like.
You'll have it before it goes out.
And I'm also concerned with making sure that this could be an effective working committee. So are we limiting the number of people that are on this so that we can make sure that they can still do good work and have effective results? And besides the mission statement, do we have any other stated objectives for the committee?
So the committee itself will develop the objectives as they meet about what needs to happen. I'm sure that our staff will help to provide some guidance on that as well.
And so the size?
So again, looking at the representation, all those groups that I've mentioned, our facilitator has suggested, our in-house facilitator has suggested that we not have a group bigger than 30 people. He felt that was a workable group and it shouldn't go over that.
That causes me some concern, because even if that's what he said, and I appreciate, again, if our in-house facilitator, if that's Jeff Stack, who we've worked with, if it's somebody else, are they going to have, I think sometimes facilitating diversity conversations might take a slightly different skill set than just general facilitation. So if we don't find that he is able to effectively run this conversation, are we open to, like that actually stated, I think a specific facilitator, would we have the opportunity to find somebody who might be more effective in this work?
Are you asking, is this a work in progress? Yes, I think so. And I also want to speak, I understand that and thank you for contacting me with your question over the weekend about the size of it. I do want to say, with it being a community of 110,000 residents and businesses, 17,500 students, 30 people seems like a small group to me when I look at trying to bring as many voices around the table that we can. But I do understand your point about wanting it to be an effective and efficient group. So that was where the number arrived at.
And this is minor, but it's just as I read this, the Lakota Community Diversity Council Committee it seems to me we could leave off the word committee, because that seems a little burdensome.
It's only for the
as-
purpose of the resolution. I actually just said that same thing to Mr. Singh today. That it does seem bulky. Mrs. Casper,
I,
and then Mr. D.
when the agenda came out on Friday and I saw the resolution, I was disappointed that the word diversity was not in there. So I do appreciate that. I feel like we're trying to hide something by not putting it in there. And I understand what you said about what has happened, but diversity, again, is so much more than race and sexual orientation, and it's so much more. And I do feel like that's what we have to capture. So I was glad to see that was back in there, what was put in there. I think that we need to make sure we understand that the diversity committee that this is replacing the diversity committee that we are disbanding, for lack of a better word, because it would not make sense to have a diversity committee with 5 board members and a superintendent, because our staff said they would not attend in that aspect. So that's part of why we're trying to do better. Is the 30 number firm? Is there any negotiation with the board reps and the administration once those are chosen? I also think that's a lot of people to effectively get some work done. And I know that that was a recommendation, but I wonder if there's any wiggle room in that.
Well, again, Mr. Card is not here,
Well, that's
so
it.
I think we can discuss it, though.
I-
And the planning, as I mentioned in the beginning, the planning will be done with the 2 board reps, our staff members, the facilitator. I would expect Mr. Card to be part of that initially.
Would it benefit us to maybe hold off until next meeting when Mr. Card is here? Or?
I don't believe so when I look at trying to schedule 30 schedules and get something on the calendar and the planning that needs to happen.
So 30 is firm.
It's the number I have now.
Okay.
Did I say it's a firm 30? I did
Well,
not.
but you just said,
Because that's the number I have now.
And one small other housekeeping thing, the letter that Mr. Card, you read that Mr. Card would send out does not reflect the name of the committee. So I
That'll
just,
be edited.
yeah, I just want to make sure that before anything goes out to anybody that we make sure that we have the right.
And I appreciated your point when you contacted me about that. Again, trying to take out the political divisiveness of this work and drill down to why does this work matters. It matters because it matters with our students and understanding what might hamper them from learning. So it was, actually, I think we both felt that that was a word not to necessarily have in there. However, your point was, this makes it clear what the work is going to be about.
It's
So
just not a random.
that is why it changed today. That was in recognition of the points that you made.
I appreciate that.
Yep. Mr. D.
Yeah, this department, I mean, is very important to me because if anybody knows what diversity means and what it takes to be able to assimilate when you go to a place you don't know, if anybody knows that, it's me. And before I make my point, I always tell the community that I appreciate the opportunity that was given to me to serve on this board because that means the community accepted diversity. If not, this is Isaac speaking. On my own, I think my thought is, if not because the community was acceptable and allowed me to serve, even though I wanted to serve, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to do that. So I was elected and I won, and I'm on this board. But when I came to this board, I came with all kinds of information that I know I'm going to do my job, I'm going to do my work, and get to the bottom of everything that is happening in the school district. So I came with a lot of false information because I later found that a lot of them were lies and were false. I am somebody that believes that we as a school district need to focus on our students, the community, and uh, a lot of people have investment in this area. I have investment here too. I don't have kids in school, but I have investment here. So we have to make sure our community is welcoming so that our businesses thrive, our investments thrive, our kids succeed, our teachers are happy to do their job, and people are coming here. So like I said earlier before, whether we like it or not, we have to be welcoming. People are coming in every day. So this committee is very vital. Thank you. I know it would have been maybe whatever reason that diversity was not there. I think that was not intention that it should be removed from it because that is the purpose of the committee anyway. And every day in our meeting, we talk about hearing from the community. We want to hear the community involved. And we're trying to make sure everything is community-based now so that everybody have a voice in it. This is America. That's freedom. We might disagree, but this is our country. We have to make sure we work together in our disagreement, create a pathway to success for everybody. If anybody is going to be political, I don't think anybody is more political than me. I'm a very political person. I love politics, and I believe in my own ideology. I want to push my ideology, but when it comes to a place where we need to negotiate, we need to talk about it, and with civility and with decorum. So I love this committee, and I'm solely behind it, and I'm going to be happy that it's going to take off. I know there's going to be a lot of work in progress. A lot of things that we're going to keep tweaking until we get it to work. Because we have to have diversity in our group, in our school district, so that our school district will move forward. We're preparing our kids for the future. So the future is, America is a melting pot, whether you like it or not. I'm here, I'm an American, right? So and I'm diverse. I come from Africa. So first of all, we have to try to work together and make things work so that everybody is maybe not, you might not be 100% comfortable, but at least there's a place where we have to agree for the success of our kids, for the investment in this community, our community members. That's all I'll say on that for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. D. Mr. Vogelman?
I would just say, I think one of the points to make is what Ms. Casper said, that with the current diversity committee, that the staff members would not be attending any further. So it'd be difficult to have a diversity committee. And I believe this is your attempt and Mr. Card's attempt to kind of ensure that something continues in this area. It is important. We do need to, just a case in point is during graduation week, Adam, you taught me something as it deals with diversity. Don't look so shocked. Okay. This.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's something.
Of not realizing that you told me that the day after East graduation, realizing that some of the females and their religious stance was not to shake hands with man. Mm-hmm. And I was just all day long, every kid coming up there. And then you said that, and I thought, what did I make someone uncomfortable because I didn't understand? And so for the West graduation, I watched. And what I did is I watched Ben Brown at the bottom of the steps to see if any ladies that would come his way, that he would do this, and that's how you acknowledge and shake hands according to their customs and their religion. And I made sure that if I saw that I would not stick my hand out to that individual, that I would respect that diversity between us. And learning from that is important, that we understand that. And that's a value to this community, and not something to just not pay attention to. We have 17,500 kids, and we are about 38% diverse. So that's 6,000 to 7,000 students that are coming from diverse backgrounds. We need to understand that. We need to understand what they're going through. How do they view life? They don't view life as I view life. They don't learn the way I learn. And so it's continue to try and understand that and learn from each other.
Mr. Zink?
Well, as you guys know, I'll be there to write the minutes up. But no, it is a good point. We talked about this, we always reference now prior to the pandemic. And I remember prior to the pandemic, we had reached out with the Welcome Center to the International Academy to say, hey, could you give us a little bit of training in the Welcome Center on how to not be, sometimes I find that by trying to not be offensive, that can be offensive. So, how to work with people and, try to be as accommodating as possible and respectful as possible as well. So there's a whole lot of things that we all may not understand and want to do as well as we possibly can with it. So, but I will do the minutes, no matter what happens.
We will count on that.
And the notices. I will notice them also for you.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say that I believe in the framework of this committee, but I do want to caution that there's some work to do, just for me to understand, and the community members and how many, and say that again. Okay, I'm done.
Mr. Schaefer, did you have something?
That was going to be my request, that if we move forward and say that we're doing this committee, if whomever the board representatives are could meet with our administrative team, Mr. Card and anyone else, perhaps the individuals who work in Lodi, and have a conversation before that letter is sent out and before, so that final agreement is worked on by that group, as well as the final list of who is on the committee. So is that something that we could do prior to just going ahead and sending something out? Make sure that our board reps meet with our administration to
I
iron
think
that out.
that's reasonable.
I think it's better.
I'm not saying the word firm at all. I'm not saying the word firm. All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. D,
Yes.
Ms. Casper,
Yes.
Ms. Bodie,
No.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes. Board will move to number 9, appointment of board representatives. Do I have a motion?
So I make a motion.
Mr. D?
I nominate the President, Ms. Linda O'Connor, and Ms. Kelly Casper as members of the board.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. Is there a discussion? Mrs. Casper?
I guess be careful what I wish for, huh?
Oh,
No, I would be happy and to serve on that committee.
Mrs. Schaefer, anything?
Again, I think we think we try to balance different committee assignments. And so I appreciate that this will, I know you've been working on this, Linda, so I'm assuming that that's why Mr. Adi suggested that you do that. And then I know that Kelly serves on one committee currently, so I think that will be good. That's not an all-board committee, so I think that will be a good balance of representation.
Any other comments?
Yes.
Mrs. Bodie?
I would also like to motion for myself to be on the board, because with you two being representatives on the board, it looks like you're blocking out a voice of difference and not allowing all voices at the table to be heard. So I would like to put in my bid for a seat as well, so you can be inclusive.
Is there a second?
It becomes a meeting if there's 3 people.
We're not going to discuss. Is there a second?
I would like to
I
put
do
my voice
not-
to be heard.
I don't hear a second, so the motion fails. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none.
Mr. Adi,
yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Bodie,
No.
Ms. Casper,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes. Thank you, Board. Treasurer's recommendations.
Madam President, we made a motion at the beginning of the agenda, approval of the agenda, to
I'm
add
sorry,
two
for
motions.
new actions.
And you actually inserted one of my motions at, before the opening items, which, can you help me explain why you did that when we as a board approved to put them on number 10?
So we're moving to new business number 10. I had already written a note about asking that question, but if you would like that question asked again as a motion, we certainly can do
Yes, we
that.
approved it as a board, so I would like
So
to.
new business, your motion?
Yes, I have two motions. Number one,
Let's take them one at a time, please.
of course. I would like to make a motion that our board members make their position known on issue 1, which will be voted on in August. I believe this measure, meaning issue 1, will help protect the integrity of the Constitution.
Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion dies.
What does that mean?
What does what mean?
Did you not receive your
If you would
emails,
like a
Isaac?
discussion, then we would need to second her motion.
I want to discuss that.
So are you seconding the
I
motion?
second your motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. The floor is open, Mr. Adi.
Yes. Okay. What does that have to do with the school board right now? Because I know what I want, but I don't think that's relevant to my personal. This has to do with my personal view about it. So what has that to do with the school board?
The community has asked us to respond, so I am responding.
The community? And I think they sent email to us. I didn't respond to that. So what I know is
Actually,
that
we've been receiving emails for a few days.
Mr. Adi has the floor.
that is something that I know is personal. I know what I want, but I don't think I want to start telling people what I want about that, because it doesn't have anything to do with school board. Or if it's relevant to the school, maybe give us explanation. I'm done.
Other comments?
Yes, we are a nonpartisan school board making decisions based on what is best for kids. We do take an oath, as was pointed out, to uphold the Constitution. It doesn't mean that depending on what's in the Constitution, we're going to change our mind and now not uphold it. I don't believe that anybody in the community has the right to know what my personal opinions are when it has nothing to do with the school board, especially in an environment where in most cases it's being asked just to be used as something to be put against you on a Facebook post. This is my personal opinion. It has nothing to do with being a school board member. I don't feel comfortable in this environment, for sure, telling someone what my personal opinion is. And the fact that I won't answer that question doesn't speak volumes to my commitment to the question. I
It
just
actually
don't
does.
think that it
Mrs.
has
Bowden, you do not
anything
have the floor.
to do with running a school. We are a school board. We are not the General Assembly. We don't put constitutional motions forward. It is not the community's. They don't get to know my personal political beliefs.
Anything?
Again, I believe this is a nonpartisan position for a reason. I believe that this is a issue that is being handled at the state level. It is not something that we will legislate or have an impact on in our roles as school board members. So I think when I appreciate that we've gotten questions from community members, but at what point? So if a community member starts asking me my personal health information, am I obligated to share that because people ask the question? I think we at some point also have a right to privacy in our own views and beliefs when it does not impact how we operate here as representatives of our community on a school board.
I have a
So
comment.
I'll make a point first.
Okay.
I believe in the privacy of the voting booth. I do believe as elected officials that we have a responsibility to be accountable for votes that we make in our elected positions. That question is not a question that's relevant to our voted positions. It certainly does not reflect in my belief in the Ohio or the United States Constitution, and the fact that I swore an oath to uphold those. And I do believe in the privacy of the voting booth. If I have a personal relationship with you, that's a different conversation. But it's not a conversation for a board email that, again, can that be taken as the board taking a stance on an issue they have not deliberated on, they have not come to any type of an agreement or resolution on. So I think it's an inappropriate question. Is there anything further?
Yes,
Go ahead.
thank you. I didn't realize that protecting the integrity of the Constitution is a partisan issue. And I thought that was an American issue and something that we are sworn to uphold.
Go ahead.
I just don't believe that not telling you or telling the community our vote doesn't mean we're not upholding the Constitution. But we could argue this all day.
Is there any further discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Zink?
What exactly are we voting on? I'm just trying to catch this for the minutes.
Mrs. Bodie's motion, perhaps she can give you a written copy of it afterwards.
My motion
Put
is
it in
that
minutes.
board members make their
Let's just give him
position
a
known
written
on
copy
issue 1.
afterwards so that he can put that down in the
I
minutes.
just need to capture it for the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms.
All
Bodie?
right, your second, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Ms.
With the
Bodie?
vote.
Yes.
Mr. D?
No.
Ms. Casper?
No.
Ms. Schaefer?
No.
Ms. O'Connor?
No. Your second motion, Mrs. Bodie?
On 5/26, I requested, sorry, I'm freezing, so that's why I'm kind of having trouble with my words, but on 5/26, I requested an emergency policy meeting to address protecting biological girls from biological boys in the bathroom. This request has been ignored by the board, and on 5/30, I sent the board president an email inquiring who had responded. Yet another lack of response. I believe it is imperative that it is voted on prior to children going back to school this fall. Again, I move to have an emergency policy meeting to address my motion made on 4/4/23 that was incorrectly amended to the board policy committee by the board president.
Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion dies. And I will say that the motion that sent that to the policy committee was correctly executed. All right, we will move to treasurer's recommendation, action items number 10, the approval of board minutes, and B, the approval of monthly financial reports. Mr. Zink, anything we need to know before we make a motion?
The monthly financial reports are for the month of May.
Thank you.
Can I take the, sorry, number B, can I separate that please from A?
I'll take a motion to approve the board minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. Is there discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Bodie?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes. I'll take a motion to approve B, the monthly financial reports for May.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. Is there a second? Mr. D? Is there discussion?
Yes, there are expenditures that I do not approve of on the financial reports, so I will vote no.
Would you like to expand upon that to help us better understand your concerns?
There are programs that I do not approve of as a representative of the community, and so I'm going to vote no.
Can you be any more specific than that?
Well, I think you know where I stand.
I have a question.
Is that all you'd like to say?
Yep.
Mr. D?
It doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure it out.
The question I have is,
Mrs. Bodie, you're once again out of order with personal attacks. Please stop. Mr. D, your question?
I'm sorry
Okay.
you took that personal.
the question I have is, you are a member of the finance committee, and you meet with the treasurer maybe and with Mrs. Schaefer. And I believe that if you need some personal meetings, you need more personal meetings with him, I believe he's not going to decline. So I'm confused that you are a member of that board, that committee, yet you have questions that are not answered, you're not asking those questions. So I'm confused.
If you understand the ORC, it comes down to the board approval. So unfortunately, the board approves financial expenditures that I do not approve of, and so I do not approve of the financial reports.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
No.
Just
Hearing-
clarification on the difference between numbers and letters.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Nothing. Go ahead.
Mr. Zink, please call the roll.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Bodie?
No.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes. Board will move to superintendent recommendation action items. I've been asked to remove B and E for a separate vote, so we are looking for a motion to approve personnel items. C, approve resolution declaring transportation impractical for the 2022-2023 school year. And D, approve field trips. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. D.
I'm sorry.
I requested B and E.
I have removed B and E for a
I'm
separate
sorry,
vote.
C and E.
You requested B and E.
That was not the original request.
I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I meant C and E.
Okay, we have already started voting.
So where are we?
Motion has been made and approved. Please call the roll.
Wait, hold on.
You said A and B and E at the
Yeah.
beginning.
B and E, yes, sorry, B and E.
That's what she
Yeah,
separated
that's what you
out.
said. Sorry.
Mr. Zink, would you please call the roll
Can we have discussion, please?
on A, C, and D?
On A, C, and.
Yes, on A, C, and D.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Number A. It has come to my attention, sorry, letter A. I know I get those confused a lot. Anyway, it has come to my attention that we need to continue to seek out accountability in our HR department, and I would like to address concerns with some exit audits, and we can discuss this further in executive session. But we really need to, again, receive feedback. If you really care about the staff and you really care about the administration, I would urge you to address concerns through exit audits, because that would make our staff feel more comfortable expressing concerns. I would recommend doing it through an outside auditing agency, not through our personal HR department, because that is where some of these issues lie.
I appreciate your concern for our staff's comfort. Is there anything else?
Yes. Also, on letter C, we should be able to provide rides for every student in the district. So again, I do not agree on that one. And also on D, approve field trips. I will vote no on the Disneyland field trip, because Disneyland has transformed itself into being just another institution
Audience, please.
promoting ideology and programs that sexualize children. Disney is no longer a place that celebrates youth, but rather targets and destroys youth, and I am not comfortable sending our students to Disneyland.
Folks, please. Is there anything else, Mrs. Bodie?
That's it.
Mr. Zink, at a future meeting, could you please provide us with the total cost for providing transportation for every single student?
Sure.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
Just clarification, the field trip is to Disney World, not Disneyland.
So are,
Same thing.
We are voting on A, C, and D.
A, C, and D, thank you.
Yes. Anything further? Mr. Zink, please call the roll.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Bodie?
No.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes. Board, I will take a motion for B, the second read for approval of the 2024-2025 school calendar, and E, approved donations.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. Discussion.
I'd just like to add, appreciate the community's feedback on the calendar. This is an area where, I've heard the word transparency tonight. Talk about wanting feedback. We got over 300 responses to the original calendar posting, and we did make 3 changes to that calendar that was before you. Because of those 300 comments that were submitted, 73 were requesting a fall break that was not in there. And so if you look at this calendar compared to the calendar for first read, you will see a fall break that was added. And there are 2 days now, October 18th and 17th, head into a 4-day weekend. So we added that fall break in there. 66 comments requested spring break be at a later time because we had that earlier in March. So we did move spring break from March 17th to April 14th to accommodate those requests to move it later. So it's warmer weather. And then we also had 65 comments just saying that they liked the calendar the way it was. So we do go through those, we do read those, and based on the majority of comments, we did make those changes to the calendar that are before you for that final approval tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Vogelman. Any other discussion?
I just have what about if we now get 100 comments that people would really rather spring break be in March than April? Like, is there now it's just is what it is.
It is
for
what it
most
is. I
people.
mean,
Okay.
It's, because kind of where we're at is, spring break's going to happen sometime, and, a good number of people said, why don't you put it later? That's fine.
Okay.
So it's a lose-lose.
Yeah. All right,
Because the
thank
majority
you.
of the people that responded.
Any other comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Ms. Casper,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. D,
Yes.
Ms. Bodie,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes. We'll move to closing comments. Mrs. Bodie?
I would like to respond to some of the public comments, or listening session that was said today at the listening session. I think the district is being ruined by board members who support divisive programs like DIE, critical race theory, and SEL, which are harming our students, and I think the fear is on the opposite side of the aisle here. And I also would like to say that the OSBA should not have any part in the search for superintendent. They promote the racist teachings of critical race theory, and in addition, I will not condone the process that eliminates the most critical issues facing education today, the sexualization of our children, the teaching of racism, and the destruction of girls' competitive sports, as well as the overall failure to educate our system, or our children, to educate our children. 'Cause we're failing our students, and it's quite obvious in our test scores and in the community. So,
Mrs. Schaefer?
Again, earlier in the meeting, I read our mission statement, and our vision statement is we are personalized, we are future ready, we are physically responsible, and we are in this together. And I am so appreciative of our staff being able to focus on this mission and this vision for every single one of our students. And I look forward to working with a majority of the board on making sure we stay focused on our mission and vision and our North Star, and don't allow us to get sidetracked away from what our goals and objectives are that were developed with our community.
Thank you.
I would like to echo that. I have a teacher that lives in my backyard. Okay, she doesn't live in my backyard, but she lives in the house, not in my actual backyard. She lives in the house behind me, and she dropped off something the other day, and she said to me, I just want you to know that the staff is still working really hard despite all the distractions, despite all of the effort to take down Lakota and public education from the inside out. And we are working hard, and we are still educating kids every single day, and we still care about these kids and everything that they do. It's evident by the way you see end of the school year celebrations where teachers are crying because they're, losing their kids at their family that they've had for, 9 months. And they said it's like losing a member of a family every year. So I do appreciate that our staff is out there. Graduation. long week, but so fun to see those graduates walk across that stage. They just, and the speeches, I'm so amazed by the speeches because they're just all right. You know, they're all so articulate in what they say, and they capture their 4 years in high school so eloquently. So congratulations to all of our graduates, and I hope that as a board, we can try harder to be more professional and stop name-calling fellow board members. It just is not a good look for the district.
Your choices are not a good
Mrs.
look.
Mr. Vogelman?
Yeah, kind of piggyback on what Ms. Casper said, 1,300 graduates got their diploma on May 15th. So glad to see them get that diploma and head off, as we always talk about, those 4 E's, whichever path they choose to take. I want to say thank you to the numerous retirements that took place from those support staff or teaching staff or administrators that have been helping us out over these past couple of years. Wish them well as they head off to their next adventures ahead of them. And just also a reminder for those families that have little ones at home, if you need to sign up for kindergarten, please do. We would like to get you into our numbers as soon as possible so we can make sure we have everybody have appropriate staffing levels for those kindergartners and also for those people who may have chosen to do kindergarten outside of the district but now are seeking first grade in the district to also enroll as soon as possible so we capture those numbers accordingly. So Welcome Center is there for you. Log in, schedule, get your information in, call you in, we'll finalize things and get you into Lakota for August 16th, I think is the first day of school. So just a reminder to get out and enroll, please.
Mr. Zink?
I just wanted to thank everybody for letting me join graduations. I went to all 3 of them, and that was definitely one of the highlights that I've had this year. That was a really fun thing to do, and just see the excitement on the face of the parents and the kids and the families. So that was a really fun thing to do for me. So other than that, I don't have anything else I'd like to add at this time. June's a busy month for us, so
Yeah.
we'll work through it.
Busy month.
Aren't they all? Mr. D?
Yes, I want to thank all the teachers and the staff, administrators, and the SROs for the work you do. I know most of the time we don't mention you all, but the safety training we had the last time gave me opportunity to appreciate what a lot of people are doing behind the scene to make sure that our school district continue to grow and continue to do better. I also want to say here that we need to focus on what is important and keep aside distractions being used by other people that don't even know what is inside. Because if you sit on this table, you should support the Constitution. That's what we talk about. Constitution. You want to know about my opinion about Constitution? Yet you are violating the Constitution. The Constitution is freedom for everybody. That's America. It's freedom. So if we have to uphold the Constitution, and that is what the question came up to, yet you're trying to suppress other people's freedom. I don't think that's what the Constitution is all about. So thank you all. Community, you need to know that there are people here that are really working to make sure that the students and your investment and the community is safe and progressive. So that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Yeah.
A couple of practical matters, and then I'll return to a little more positive approach. We interviewed 2 search firms, and those search firms were part of our board meeting, and then they were in executive session. And one search firm indicated to us outside of executive session that they would not be able to work with us because of the behavior of one person. And so OSBA was kind enough although they were subject to the same kind of behavior, they were kind enough to say, we will help you with this search. You need our help. And so the maligning is bothersome and it's unprofessional. And I just want to say, I think they're doing the best they can, and we're fortunate to have them still willing to work with us. And it's unfortunate that I even needed to say that.
I think
There
it's
is a
un-
policy change someone had brought up tonight. Might have been Mr. Argo, I think, was asking about whether or not there would be a policy change to the number of members, the board members on committee, and that is already in the works, so that you're aware. And I also do want to invite you, Mrs. Bodie, you left quite early on in the superintendent search process. You're welcome to return to the table as we continue that work. We would welcome your input and hope that you'll decide to be a part of the process. I will say, echoing, graduation was just, it's as many as I've gone through, they never get stale.
Never do.
My hands get tired, but they never get stale. I really appreciate the culmination and that moment of knowing all the families in the room are just hooting. Are we doing special signals?
No.
I did shoulder. My shoulder got sore.
Oh.
Wow.
Adam's gonna have
From
to,
shaking hands.
Adam's gonna have to start training early.
It's
We're
true.
going to exercise
You
in
were
April
a
next year.
newbie this
He
time,
was
so
a
we should have
whiner,
warned you.
too. My shoulder hurts, my feet hurt.
And it wasn't just the speeches, the vocal performances too were just stunning. They did such a terrific job. And every year they surprise me with how amazing they are, but that's what it's all about. There is lots of work. People keep saying, so you get the summer off. No, we never get the summer off. There's a lot of work that goes on, especially with the superintendent search underway. So we will continue to work through the summer. We're just a little more casual, but we keep going. But it is also a time for our families, great moments for family connections and experiences and building incredible memories. And so wishing everyone safe travels and that they have a wonderful summer to connect with their kids and spouses and maybe loved ones that you don't get to see too often unless you get to do some travel.
Madam President.
So I also want to thank my board members for the support of the project and look forward to that work and moving that forward and going in a more positive direction with that.
Madam President.
Mrs. Bodie, I'm going to call it a night now. So I will
Madam
take a
President, I would like
motion.
to say something, please.
I will take a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I would like to say something, please.
I have the floor still. Motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I would like to say something.
Mrs. Schaefer, Mrs. Casper. Please call the roll.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Casper,
Yes.
Mr. Adi,
Yes.
Ms. Bodie,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes, thank you all.